Welcome back to We the Students, America's first interactive debate program. Tonight we have debaters from the University of Miami and Miami-Dade College, debating the merits and consequences of the war on terror. Now let's get back to the discussion. Last year, we saw the systematic dismantling of al-Qaeda, with the deaths of terrorist leaders like Ayman al-Zawahiri and 9/11 mastermind Osama bin Laden. The news was met with widespread approval from the United States and throughout the West. With these threats now eliminated, the second question of the night for Miami-Dade: is the United States any safer with the assassination of terrorist leaders? Miami-Dade, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Well, obviously, if we cut off the head of the snake will die. Al-Qaeda is an organization that has constantly planned attacks on our nation and various other nations of Europe and all over the world. They must be stopped. I mentioned earlier that the consequences of losing are dire, and they are dire. What will happen if we fail to dismantle completely Al-Qaeda and assassinate all their leaders? What will happen is there will be an influx of violence, because this shows the world that the only way to get things done is through violence.
Well, here with the Taliban and other Al-Qaeda and extremists, this is like a six-head serpent. You cut off one head, but they still have 5 heads remaining. And also, you have not destroyed actually the terrorism or terrorists. Excuse me. You've only eliminated some of the terrorists. There are just too many terrorists, including Al-Qaeda, Taliban, out there in the world, and so America has not been successful in this war on terrorism.
So that means we should just turn our head and allow them to do whatever they want?
Well,
of
no,
course not.
but they're not defeated. They basically what we've done is we've.
I agree with you. They're not defeated. That's why we're there. We're fighting them.
That's why we're staying there.
We're fighting them, and we have no plans. That's the problem, that we have no clear goals, nor do we have any clear exits. And so that's why we are wasting a lot of funds, and we are losing millions of American lives over in a war that was not planned thoroughly, and that we have no clear goals.
Their leaders more leaders will just take over, just because Osama bin Laden's going to.
And then we will continue to fight them. This war on terror needs to be drawn back to the point, because this isn't a clear definition of a war. We're not fighting to an end. This is a war that will continue and continue and continue, because as long as these countries allow safe haven for these terrorist organizations to promote their plans.
We don't have the funds to do that. We're already in a ridiculous amount of debt, and we're borrowing from China.
How much funds would we need to rebuild a city in America? Because if we allow them to run rampant and do whatever we want and pull back all our resources and our military operations and things of that nature, they will attack us again.
So you're basically saying we're never going to completely leave.
No, it's a constant fight.
If it's a constant fight and we're continuing to do this, to fight these terrorists over and over, first of all, we have neither the funds nor the available lives to waste on the war that we have already spent a decade fighting in, and as you said, that will never end. And also, if you do not learn from your past, then you're doomed to repeat it. In the past, Soviet Union tried to do the same thing that we're doing in Afghanistan. They failed. Their war with Afghanistan cost them millions of lives, as well as trillions of dollars, and they became an enemy of the entire world. And now we are repeating the same exact steps that the Soviet Union took.
They haven't made the progress that we have, though. We've already taken down a major leader, and we're still in progress of taking down more major leaders. This organization is only as strong as its leaders. Its supporters are mostly bribed due to the poor living conditions, and that's going to get worse, and people are going to feel the need to become these supporters. Some of them don't even believe in the cause. They just need a meal on the table. How could we allow this kind of civilization to be going on right now over there? If we have, right now, our soldiers are not as much as their civilians and casualties. We need to prevent that. That's our role. We are one of the foremost leaders of this world, and if we allow this to happen.
You said the Soviet Union did not have as much success as we had, but the thing is that we have millions of different leaders here, because these are different times. We have too many leaders here with terrorism, and because we have another group that, once again, America's trying to fight, like the Haqqani Network. And so what you're saying is that the Soviet Union did not have as much success, but these are different times, because, once again, these are different terrorist groups.
Where's the Haqqani Network located?
Here in Afghanistan.
And also, they have connections in Palestine, correct?
Yes, they do, and they also have ties to the Afghanistan government.
Okay, you mentioned that those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. Palestine does not have an extradition treaty. That means terrorists are allowed legally to be there without repercussions for their actions.
Thank you. Now let's check in with Camille. to find out what the viewers are saying. Camille.
Thank you, Kate. We, the students, received this tweet from Rachel at New York University, who asks, the United States is spending hundreds of billions of dollars trying to create democracies in places where they never existed. Why should our national resources be spent nation building abroad when most Americans think we should be spending that money fixing our country's crumbling infrastructure? Rachel, thanks for the question. Now back to you, Kate.
Thanks, Camille. The question again is, why should our national resources be spent nation building abroad? When, according to most polling, Americans think that most money should be spent nation building at home. Miami, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Well, 56% of Americans want to remove U.S. forces from Afghanistan right away, as soon as possible. And it makes sense that we need to be spending money on our crumbling infrastructure. If we could look at it in 2 separate ways, if we could see the war in Iraq and Afghanistan is not connected to the fact that our infrastructure is completely crumbling, then it makes sense to keep fighting. But we have to, it's one or the other. And realistically, our people, like the people in America, like the Occupy Wall Street movement's going on, like people can't get jobs. It's all the money is going, the money needs to be changed, like where it's going.
Without security, how can one work on infrastructure? If these countries are allowed to remain as havens to plan attacks on America, then we would be building just to have it destroyed.
We're not against our government fighting against the war on terrorism, but we want better policies, better plans, and we don't want all of our taxpayer dollars spent on wars that just aren't resulting in positive results. We want those taxpayer dollars to be spent here at home trying to rebuild our infrastructure and our $1 trillion deficit that is directly a response to our involvement in this war on terrorism.
We need to change where our spending goes, because it's just too much is going to the war, not enough to the infrastructure, and that it's clearly causing issues. We all know what's going on with our economy. It's just not working. So the policy, like something needs to be changed. We really have to spend less on the war because we're not getting the same results we wanted, and there's more cons than pros. And that's just simply our view of the issue.
Right. Our military spending currently has already been lowered. It hasn't really been raised. So technically our funds are still being prioritized more toward domestic disputes in America. However, it's just a matter of being able to know that the money that we invest is being used wisely and to basically help an enemy, which would serve as a good ally.
Thank you. Now, Miami-Dade, you have 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
As we said before, funding for the military has already decreased. It's not going up anytime soon now. And I just want to keep, America is not saying Islam is bad. What America is trying to say is to stop killing people or try to enslave them to your cause just because they don't agree with you. These are things that we need to pursue. The coalition's intentions are great, but it's about how it's being implemented. It's counterproductive.
Yeah, time is up for right now. Thank you both. When we come back, the debaters give their closing statements. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.